So I don't know if you guys have heard about the new Sonic movie.
Mm-hmm.
The drive-through.
Oh.
Where they get half off drinks. This episode's sponsored by Sonic. I'm just kidding.
I wish.
I know, that'd be dope.
That would be kind of dope, actually.
Free drinks.
Anyways, so new Sonic the Hedgehog movie, right? They launched a trailer like in.
Back in the summer?
Was it back in summer? They launched a trailer. Yeah, it was like launched a trailer in summer, and the internet exploded about how horrible Sonic the Hedgehog looked. Right? It looked absolutely insanely horrible, and everyone was making fun of it. There was memes about it. Hashtag Justice for Sonic. And to the point that like the basically the company comes out, like Sony came out, or Sega rather, sorry, Sega came out and said that they were gonna redesign it. They're gonna redesign the whole shoot. They're gonna push back the release date just to kind of satisfy the fans. So what do you guys think about that?
When I first saw it, I didn't think it was that bad. I just thought it looked like Sonic.
What?
I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think it would be enough to redesign it. It cost a lot of money to redesign
It
something
looked
like that.
so bad. It wasn't even like, it didn't even like, I didn't even thought it looked like Sonic even kind of. Like if you'd have told me that wasn't Sonic, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's not Sonic. I don't know what that is. What is this?
Are you gonna go to that far on the internet and say, I hate that Sonic Chom?
I wouldn't, but I'm not the type to like complain like online. But am I gonna call like Patrick or you and be like, did you see how terrible Sonic looked? Yes.
Would you watch it?
So what's funny is I texted Mace at the very beginning of the first trailer, and I was like, I probably would eventually watch it, but it wouldn't have been a movie that I'd be like, bro, like Sonic's coming out this weekend, let's watch it. I don't know if I would go as far as bad, like saying like if somebody showed me the character, I wouldn't have known it was Sonic. I think that's pushing it, but I do think it looked bad as far as just the design. But what's funny is it looked good as far as the application of it. Like like the character itself looked good, right? It just wasn't Sonic, right? It wasn't what people pictured Sonic to be. But I could see like they were trying to go realistic, and I think that's what kind of threw it off. Like I think they were trying to not make it look animated, and they were trying to make it look realistic. And if there was a giant hedgehog that was blue, this is what it would look like, and people just didn't like it. So
with human teeth.
With human teeth. So they redesigned it, and now the internet's still going crazy because people are saying that it's a conspiracy. Sega did it on purpose. They made it so bad the first time that way the internet would just blow up. And now that they put it out the second time, people would kind of be like, yes, I'm definitely going to go watch this one because you guys went the extra mile to redesign it, basically for us, the fans. So I'm going to support you. So what do you guys think of that conspiracy?
They're going to put all that money to redesign it because it's not only they have to redesign one scene, they have to redesign every scene that he's in. They're going to spend that much money for, what is it, more publicity?
That's what he's trying to say. Like, they only could have filmed that part to make it look weird.
So when it comes to special effects, they could have, right? They could have specifically made this one single trailer,
one scene,
bad, right, to publish it and hope they get bad feedback, right? They didn't have to do the whole entire movie under this one sign. And even realistically, that's not like how it's actually done. Like when it comes to like CGI, like Avengers and all that stuff, when they launched the first trailer, that they're not done with the movie, right? Special effects and CGI is the last thing that goes into a movie. So that's literally coming up to literally the release as far as when it gets released to like the critics and stuff, what they see. And even a lot of times the early viewers don't see the full movie. Like Jimmy Kimmel went and saw the Endgame, like the final one. They got to see it early, a bunch of celebrities, and he talked about how it was so crazy to kind of see not all the special effects there yet. So they did, like, the movie wasn't done during that first trailer. So if they would have made that trailer specifically just to kind of put out their bad, it kind of makes sense rather than that they have to go back and redesign the whole movie because they don't. Because kind of like the timetable goes, they shot the movie, about 3 months later they released trailer. Okay? From the time they said that they're going to do the redesign, the timetable literally got pushed back 3 months. So that 3 months that they took to create the trailer, essentially they kind of just made up by pushing it back.
And they took all that time to redesign it. You think that was just their plan? You think that was just their plan to just make it not that bad?
If you're trying to create controversy and create, the internet blowing up, I mean, why not?
I don't see how that's how you how do you expect it to blow up the way it did? Look at movies look. We talked the other day about how many box office bombs there have been lately, like Charlie's Angel or Gemini Man or whatever, like Terminator, yeah. Like there's been bombs, and they haven't looked great in the trailers either. Like, I don't understand how you can put something out and think that it's gonna blow up the way it did. I don't see how you can predict that.
Well, if you go based off their first picture of Sonic, where they released it, and it was basically a silhouette, and how people blew up because of that. What if that was your inkling, right? They put it out in the first trailer. You don't really see Sonic. It's a silhouette of him, and people hated it. They immediately hated the tiny little silhouette, but you kind of hit it. So do you go off of that? Like, if you would have released that, and be like, oh, that's beautiful. Do you release, like, you know, a good Sonic? Or did you put that silhouette out there to kind of hide details, so that way you kind of got the reaction off of people, and you were like, here's the horrible Sonic that you guys thought it was going to be. So they kind of dipped their toes into the pool without jumping fully in. Right, it's kind of what I'm saying. They dipped the toes, found out the water was too cold, and they're like, all right, let's jump all in, and then just release this horrible version of Sonic, because people are already kind of hating the way it does, rather than they made this whole entire trailer and hope for the best. They kind of dipped their toes into it.
So that would have to mean that they knew originally, just with the silhouette, that was going to be blown up, right? So their original Sonic design is the terrible one. So they'd already designed it, they made it, they put out the silhouette, and
then... But the silhouette's kind of hard to go off because it hides details, right? It's a silhouette. Like, you can't really see. It's like pure black, other than you can see a couple of hairs, and people kind of flipped out on that. So I think that's kind of your escape route, because if people would have loved it, you can still probably put out this Sonic, and people would have been like, oh, okay, like, I can see it's just a silhouette, right? Rather than, you know, they kind of got people's explanation, like, why does this look so weird? I remember people putting under there being like, God, I hope this doesn't look like what it looks like it's gonna look like. So if that was their plan, that's kind of a way they would do it. Is, hey, here's kind of Sonic, but he's kind of hidden. What do you guys think? Oh my God, that's horrible. Okay, guys, let's go all in. If that's kind of the thing, because if that was their plan, it's kind of genius, because you got everybody talking about it, right? So yeah.
But to take that risk, because what if they didn't react to it? It's like, oh.
Well, yeah, what if they just didn't go watch the movie? What if, like, people complain about it, but they were just like,
Because at first, when I first saw the trailer, it did not look like a great movie whatsoever. It looked kind of dumb. And then when I saw the second trailer, it looked awesome. Like, to me, it seems like a completely different character.
It's kind of like that theory, right? There's an experiment that went on a long time ago where they got two guys went out, right? And it was one attractive guy and one very not attractive guy. And they got a bunch of people to kind of rate him, and they rated the attractive guy so much higher because essentially he was next to the least attractive option. So it would be kind of like that theory, manipulating that theory. Here's his horribly done trailer, and you guys are kind of comparing, because honestly, like, the Sonic does look great, I get that, but it does look very animated to me. Like, I honestly think CGI wise, the first trailer was done better. Like, the first trailer just blends better. This one looks very much more animated. But granted, Sonic himself looks cool, and, like, the emotion's kind of better, but the trailer itself is better. Like, they kind of gave Sonic a lot more emotion. The first one was, like, kind of a little more melatonin. So that's my thing, too, is, like, it's almost like we talked about that. It almost seemed like they changed Sonic completely, like, almost his voice and everything.
Exactly.
It was such a drastic change. Not just the way it looked, but the way he kind of felt, the way he talked was just way more, like, animated. So how did that change? Like, if you just went in there and just redesigned it, but at the same time the trailer looked cool, like, everything about it minus just the way Sonic looked, like, that's not your game plan? Like, you just didn't do a full 180 on Sonic?
I think it just goes back to what you're saying about the attractive dude and the not so attractive dude. I think we're looking at it, and it looks so much better because of how terrible the original trailer looked. But again, I don't see that production company having the idea of let's put out this movie bad enough for people to make a big deal about it, and then be like, oh, you guys are upset? Let me fix it for you. Let's put in more work, 3 more months, and push it back 3 more months, and it's gonna be great. Because then even if it is a good movie, there's still that you run that risk of people being like, I didn't really care that much. But isn't it just way more plausible that they just put out a bad movie? They put out a bad movie, and people were like, this isn't good. And they actually took the advice and said, well, let's fix it. Opposed to someone being like, let's purposely make this movie as terrible as possible.
Not this movie, but this trailer.
Okay, this trailer as terrible as possible. Mm-hmm. And then when people get mad about it, we'll fix it and we'll look like heroes.
Is it more plausible? Yes. Is it impossible that that's what they did? No. Do I think the latter's probably the better option? Probably. But if somebody did do this, it's genius. Especially because movies that go off of video games don't do well in the box office. They do not. So now you're trying to get people to kind of talk about it. So who talks about Sonic, right? Nobody. I haven't talked about Sonic in such a long time, right? He's not relevant. At least when Pikachu had his movie, he's like relevant today. People watch Pokemon like crazy. People don't do anything with Sonic, right? So now you got it in the news. People who weren't... Naomi doesn't know anything about Sonic, but she's been talking about it. Why? Because it's brought to her attention, right? So that's my thing, is like, you brought it to attention that people probably wouldn't have looked at it. So I can get X amount of people to at least look at it and be like, huh, well, this kind of does look cool now. Maybe I'll go check it out. Rather than the person who would have saw, oh, Sonic Hedgehog trailer,
I do think it's weird that that they would change it, because we do live in a world nowadays where on social media you can voice your opinion about something that you like and don't like. And a lot of times when you do see a trailer, you know, a lot of people don't like it. They say, "Oh, this sucks" and everything. But it's very rare that you see a movie studio say, "Okay, we heard you. We're going to fix this." It's very rare. This is like the first time you ever see this.
Yes, and I think that's true too. Like, you spent so much money. Like, why would you change it? Even like, people are always gonna. People still talk mess about it online. You can still go see there, and people still have their negative comments about it. So if it wasn't done with a plan, this is like either way, it's going to be a rare circumstance. It's either rare that they would have done this marketing scheme to kind of throw a curveball, and it's rare that they would take back 3 months of production and millions of dollars to kind of fix their mistake. So either way, it's a rare either way you're going, you're believing a very rare option.
Yes.
And did you say something about merchandising?
So they did create like those tops, like to movies. When you go and they have the little character through the straw, that has the original Sonic, and they do have like cardboard cutouts and stuff like that with the original Sonic as well.
So when you mean original Sonic as
the terrible Sonic.
The terrible Sonic?
Correct.
I got you.
What do you think, Nay?
No idea what y'all are talking about. Add me in with that.